Hi, this is Katie from Crafting Ruby Dreams, and today I'm talking about when good writing advice goes bad. This idea came to me as I was working through my strengths coaching classes and the fact that I am a number 1 empathy, but I'm also a number 6 strategic. One of the very long-term pieces of writing advice is show, don't tell. Here's the thing about show, don't tell, is that it is often coming from a place without explaining the nuances, because there are times when telling is absolutely the most appropriate choice in service to the story. Everything you do, you want to choose to do it in service to the story. When you are a beginning writer, show don't tell, it sounds very absolute, and you often don't get the nuances explained to you because sometimes the person telling you is just repeating show, don't tell. They don't understand the nuances either. So it is all writing advice you need to take with a grain of salt. It's really hard when you hear show, don't tell, show, don't tell, show, but don't tell from all of these people around you, because that is the advice that has been given out for decades. And I mean decades, because I remember hearing that piece of advice when I went to my first Romance Writers of America conference over 20 years ago. So as I mentioned, the idea for this video came to me because I was really deeply digging into how my strengths affect my writing. And something I realized is that my empathy gets over-torqued by my strategic, and I skip over a lot of steps. I already tend to write shallow because I feel emotions so quickly and easily, and so what I think I am putting on the page is something that will trigger emotions in everybody the same way it triggers emotions in me. That is not the case. And my strategic over-torques it because I skip even more steps. So much fun. So I had that realization, and then as I was digging into some things, some issues with my current manuscript, and going back through advice and other things and just absorbing a lot of things, I realized show don't tell, for as good advice as it is, especially when you understand the nuances of it, is actually really bad advice for somebody who skips over steps and feels things very quickly. I realized that what telling is to me is actually potentially showing to other people, and therefore I am taking it to an extreme that is not effective and is not in service to the story. An example of what show don't tell, the way I write it, at least in my first draft, is he touched her hair. Okay, great. I have put in a scene that he is touching her hair to show that he's trying to comfort her, but that's all that's present. Is who else is going to understand? Because I have also put very little context in. I just expect people to understand from what context I have put in that him touching her hair is going to mean that he is trying to comfort her in this very emotional situation. No. No. The two most frequent editorial comments that I get is that I need more emotion in the story. I need to explain the emotion more, is essentially what they're saying. And I need to better ground the reader in the story. So those two actually work together in that my readers often, it's like at least the first readers, don't feel as connected to the story as they could because I am not pulling them deep enough into the story and the emotional lives of the characters. I need to slow down both the way that I write as well as my characters' emotional expressions in the story and the way they think about emotion. So I need to slow down and show the various steps of what decisions they make with regards to their emotions and all of that. So, but show don't tell also works for me in that when I describe scenes, I try to do it from the perspective of the character. So I am giving you glimpses of the character in the way they observe things. Whereas I might not be great with the emotion, I can be pretty good at character building and what their perspective is. It's not bad advice, it really isn't, but you have to dig into what nuances of show don't tell really means as advice, and be aware of the way that advice can change. So here are my bits of advice for figuring out when something is good advice versus when it's bad advice, and when it needs to actually just be completely ignored. Consider the source. Is it coming from an editor who is editing your contracted manuscript? In that case, you may need to, whatever advice they are giving, you may need to pay particular attention to, because it's a contract relationship. They are often trying to improve your story, and so you need to listen to what they are saying. But if it is some person that you just happen to run into and they're repeating advice that they have heard for decades because everyone has said it, and they are not providing nuance, they are not providing specific story-centered advice to you, maybe don't listen to them, at least in that particular regard. You want somebody who's being very specific about your story in the advice that they are giving. The other thing that you need to consider is, what is your gut instinct telling you? Is your gut instinct saying, no, this isn't going to work for this story? I have had that conversation with an editor. We were not in a contract relationship for that manuscript. This person said, I know I can't buy this book as is because of this reason, but if you choose to take it out, let me know. And my gut instinct for that particular story was that thing, that aspect to that story couldn't go. It would fall apart for me, and it would no longer be the story I wanted to tell. And I still have a working relationship with that editor. That did not in any way cancel our relationship. It did not change what our relationship can be. I'm being a professional. I'm being a writer who knows what the story is that she is trying to tell. And I recognize that editor, that publishing house, may not be the best fit for that particular manuscript. At this point in time, I don't know what the right fit is with that manuscript, because my gut instinct is also telling me other things about that manuscript that I still haven't figured out what the cause of the instinct is. So, but your gut instinct is going to guide you and let you know when something is the right thing for you in the story or the wrong thing for you in the story. So listen to it. And then another thing you need to consider is, what is the effect of the advice going to be on you and your writing and your storytelling style? Is it going to adversely affect the way you tell stories, and you're not going to be excited about the stories that you have to tell if you take this advice? Is it going to benefit and have a positive effect on the way you tell stories and your excitement for telling stories? Do that benefit analysis of, is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? And just consider that effect. And it's going to also play into your gut instinct. But if your gut instinct's quiet, then you need to dig around and be a little bit more analytical and think about, if I take this advice, is this going to be in service to the story? Is this going to be in service to my career as a writer, as a published author? So think about that. And then the last thing that you need to consider and understand is that advice can change. From the advice itself may not change, but the effect can change from good to bad and bad to good. It's depending on the circumstances, because you will grow as a writer, you will grow in your career. Things will change as you move forward. What was good advice for you as a beginning author may not be good advice for you as a mid-list author or as a best-selling author. What was bad advice for you as a newbie writer can change to, it's actually good advice the longer you are into your career. So just recognize that things can shift depending on the circumstances. The last thing I want to share with you is that anything that blocks you from writing or improving what you have written should be set to the side, if not completely thrown in the trash, because that is not being in service. Whatever that is not in service to the story you are telling, to your writing career, Just completely ignore it, get rid of it, toss it away. Be true to yourself, be true to your writing, be true to your story. You are what makes your story unique. You are the voice that needs to be in the world. You have something that no one else in the world has, and that is the sum total of your experiences. You have a unique perspective on the story that you want to tell, and it needs to be heard. So anything that blocks you from being able to put that story into the world in the best possible form that it can be, that will reach the most amount of readers, or this is the other thing, you may not want to reach the most amount of readers. You may want to reach the right readers. And knowing the difference and knowing what is best for you and your story in the career will allow you to separate out what is good advice for you and what is bad advice for you in the story. These are my thoughts on advice. Take everything with a grain of salt. I wish you the best in your writing. I hope this gives you a solid foundation to work from and think about and improve as a writer, and I look forward to seeing your stories in the world. I hope you will share them with me when they are available. I hope you will leave ideas for future videos in the comments. I hope you will consider subscribing to this channel, and I hope you will consider sharing it with a friend who you think might find what I have here interesting and informative. As always, may all your dreams be Ruby dreams. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.